Today we're going to be unboxing the Cobra H.I.S.S Techno Viper as well as the H.M.S system, the HEETSEEK Missile System. I've structured this a little bit differently because there were so many pieces in this box. I've already built it. What do you say? Let's get a look at this thing. And here it is. Here is our H.I.S.S Techno Viper, and here is our H.M.S system. But here's the thing, it took a lot of work to get all this together because there were so many pieces in the box. Wouldn't you know that I documented the whole process along the way? We have a veritable ton of parts, pieces, and things to assemble. Let's just put it together and see how it all snaps together. So here is our main base station, and what we want to do is we're going to want to slot this on the top. Now this is a one-way thing. There's an overhang on this peg right here that's going to lock it into place, and it'll be virtually impossible to get out unless we do some pretty advanced or crazy things like taking it all apart. All right, here we go. Now we have our very first piece together. This hinges up and down very nicely, very smooth. It doesn't seem like there's any locked positions, except of course all the way down and all the way up. I think the next piece we're going to put on are the wheels, and I did check the wheels. They are the exact same ones as the Vamp. They just have different hubcaps here. So pop those on. That spins nice and free. Pop this one on. That spins nice and free as well. This is starting to look like a missile launcher. The next thing we have are these struts. When these are down and these are deployed down, this whole thing will stand up. The thought of course, is when you have this deployed and going to fire missiles, that you would have these deployed down so that way it wouldn't roll all over the place. It looks like these just snap on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on camera. This is a very tight fit, but it seems like it's wiggling in just fine. And we will have this. Yeah, look at that. Oh no, again, I gotta take this off screen and lock these in. So there's one on this one, and there's one on that one. Two of them. All right, let's get this done. All right, these are slotted in now. They were very difficult to plug in. You can see here that I've got some marks on my hands from trying to shove the clamp into the right spot. So just watch out. Maybe grab some gloves if you don't have like super calloused hands or anything like that. Next thing we're going to put on is this cover, and that goes on this side. There's a control panel. I'm trying to figure out which way this goes. I think the only way it goes is this way. Friction fits in there, and if you were wanting to sabotage it, you would have to pull off this panel. Pull up the panel? I don't know. The panel somehow comes off, and you could have access to that if you wanted. The last major piece we have for the missile launcher is this plank. And it's not really a plank. This is how it gets towed by the HISS tank as well as the Vamp. The Vamp also has a hitch that you could do with this, so it looks like this is another clamp situation here. There's a clamp here, a clamp here. And oh, look, there's some really nice detail in there. You can see these are like fuses or power generators, something like that. Looks very nice. You want to make sure that you have the diamond plating pattern up because this is how it's going to get towed. Okay, yeah, that wasn't nearly as bad as these monsters right here. So this right here is what you're looking at, and when you want to deploy it, this is how you tow it, put it away. It just kind of tabs out a little bit. Oh, that is a really nice rock solid thing. You can see here the wheels just spin freely. Now we're going to put on our heat seekers. And the last one, here we go. My camera is just barely getting this all in the frame. This is pretty incredible. Oh, this is why is the last one always the trickiest one? There we go. We have our missile launcher. It's right here. I think what I'm going to do now is undeploy the stabilization guards and have it just like that because you can see it a little better. Now we need to take a look at our Techno Viper. I'm not going to spend too much time getting this Techno Viper ready because I've already done the purple Techno Viper. This is our HISS tank Techno Viper. It's the exact same figure. He's just the HISS tank colors. The one improvement that I will say that this figure has over the purple one, he's not loose. He definitely is a much better constructed figure. All the parts fit a lot better, and I'm not having any sort of issues with posing him or having him just be floppy. Let's quickly put on his accessories, but one thing I'll have you note here is that his main laser rifle is bent. This is such a problem with G.I. Joe classified stuff. And initially it wasn't too much of an issue, but now it's starting to get a little like, what's going on? I thought this would have been solved by now, but it clearly hasn't. Something, you know, hopefully is going to be done about these parts because it just looks weird. All right, let's get them all ready. All right, there we have our Cobra Techno Viper. He is exactly like the purple Techno Viper, and this is something I like about this, is that if you don't get the vehicle for whatever reason, and it's not really for whatever reason, these are pretty expensive, you won't necessarily miss out on a special character. You could get this character separate. He's not going to be the same color. He's not going to have the same decorations. He's not going to have the same variation, but at least you won't be missing out on two things. It'll just be one thing. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Techno Viper and our missile launcher. I love when everything comes together, don't you? You've already seen this guy before. He's purple and he's sitting on my shelf right over there. In fact, let me grab it. Here we have, these guys are definitely buddies. As I mentioned though, putting them all together, this guy's really wobbly, this guy is not. So this Techno Viper, the red one, is a much sturdier build than the purple one, who, again, hula hoop champ right here. Apart from the seemingly sturdier build quality, the other issues that were present with the purple Techno Viper are present here as well. There's some paint spillage, there's like bent weapons, like it just is very similar to the purple one. There's not a whole lot to talk about here. He does look great with the missile system though, so that's definitely something to note. And like I mentioned earlier, if you don't pick up the missile system, you don't miss out on a figure that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. Now let's talk about the missile system. This was so much fun to put together. I love vehicles, I love accessories. I love accessories for vehicles, and this kind of fits all of that, right? Let's start by removing most of the missiles because this is a large thing. You can see here I'm struggling with one hand to get these off, which is a good thing. You want a solid connection, and it has those dog bones that we've seen on the Trouble Bubble, I think, and they weren't as solid as these HEETSEEK missiles. So I'm going to put these off to the side here, and we'll talk about this base unit first. There is so much detail that went into this unit. That is one of the things I absolutely love about it, and you can see it was lovingly crafted, it was thoughtfully designed, and it really meshes well, or at least I assume it meshes well with the HISS tank. Again, it's sitting right over there. I can't believe I opened this before the HISS tank. As you saw me putting it together, it went relatively easily. Again, watch out for these things. I still think the mark on my hand, no, it's gone by now. It was a little difficult in spots, but it's self-explanatory to put together. Just enough friction so that it stays in its place, but it's also not too loose so that it flops everywhere that you wouldn't necessarily want. You can set this up very dynamically, precisely how you want it. Control panel on the side here is something you can just pull off, and if you wanted your Techno Viper to sit here and control it, you could do that, or you could have a G.I. Joe sneaking around, maybe Chuckles, to sabotage it. Prongs on the top go into the base unit, so that's how it fits there. It doesn't slide up, it pushes out. So that's something to be careful when you're using this, because if you try to slide it up, you might break the tabs on the top, and then it will never socket back on. And as I move this around, I really love those details. The warnings, the numbers, the stand backs, the strangest piece of this. And the thing that I don't really understand is this plank right here. I get what it's for, I just don't know why that there wasn't an extra hinge so that it would fold down a little more flat. Maybe I'm missing something, but I really don't think I am. And that is just a very odd piece of this that it doesn't make or break anything, but it's just something. This is one of those things that I would like to have seen change, is just have an extra hinge here so that it would just sit a little more flush, because you already have these coming out, even if you push them so close to the top, but it just looks a little intrusive when it's not being used. So again, it's not a huge problem, but it's something that I would have liked to see changed. You do have the missiles loaded on this thing. There are two modes to it, right? Towed along, and then when it goes back in, you deploy the whole unit. These two stands kick down in the back, and these two triangles kick down in the front. It allows you to spin the wheels, and if you were to pretend that the missiles were firing from this thing, it wouldn't roll back or roll all around, it would be stuck firmly in place. It gives a sense of grounding, it gives a sense of realism to this unit, which is great, because even though we know this is a plastic toy, it gives it that sense of action, it gives that sense of believability. The one thing that I'm very curious about is if the peg in the back here fits our standard bazooka style blast effect. So let me grab that in just a second and see if that works for this. Here we have this from Scrap Iron's drone, and wouldn't you know, these do fit in. Looks a little unfinished towards the end, but but that's just me being nitpicky, I think. The fact that this fits in when we've had some other things that were close but didn't work with it, this gives it a really great sense. Now let me put this on the missile that's on the turret. Yes, that is a great look. The fact that this is on the turret and you can see it getting ready to ignite and launch off is such a great action feature to this. It says a lot. It gives this motion where there is none. So if you can't tell, I'm so-so on the inclusion of the Techno Viper, and I'm all thumbs up when it comes to the missile system. So what do I think about them all together? You see, this is where it gets a little tricky. This is an expensive piece of G.I. Joe classified. And this is our second taste of what non-HasLab vehicles and accessories for those vehicles are going to be. The Vamp being about $100, and this being a little less because it's a smaller unit. But because we already had the Techno Viper, I would have liked to see the price of this come down just a little bit. And I know in G.I. Joe tradition, there would always be extra pack-ins with things. You'd get a character or something like that with a unit, because what good is the unit without the character? I think because this is so tightly integrated with the HISS tank, which already came with a ton of figures, and the fact that the G.I. Joe Classified series is so well liked, I think people who are going to buy this are people who are already heavily invested in the line. But I'm not mad at the package that we got. To the contrary, it's a really good set. The fact that we have the Techno Viper, which is a great Cobra troop builder, and they've improved him just slightly by making him a little more sturdy in terms of the body construction, lends itself well to the existing HISS tank, as well as the theme Crimson Guard stuff. Tomax and Zaymot for sure, because those were like $2 at Ross not too long ago. Because there are so few vehicles for G.I. Joe Classified, this feels like a must pick up. And if you're able to get your hands on one, I know that you're gonna like this, pending that you have a lot of G.I. Joe Classified figures already. If this is the very first time that you're going to buy a G.I. Joe product, this might be a little too into the deep end, but I don't think you're going to be disappointed. If G.I. Joe can keep churning out these vehicles like this, it's going to be an incredible collection, and one where the space in my studio here is going to be screaming for an addition. But that's a problem for future Ryan. So that's all I have for you on the HISS Techno Viper and the HMS missile system. If you've gotten this far in the video, I think it's only natural that you hit that follow button so that you can get updated for future videos. I talk about Nerf, I talk about G.I. Joe, I talk about toys, collectibles, pop culture, all of that kind of cool stuff. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.